game. 17 more, that'll get more. Cygnar versus Khador.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, we got another bat rep. We're getting through a lot of bat reps.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. We're getting lots of chances to play games and things. And so it's Cygnar versus Khador this time. Got Stryker 2 like I played in the last bat rep. And you brought Butcher.
Butcher 3, yeah.
And we're playing on, do you know what the scenario is called? It's the one with the box in the middle with 2 objectives and then the 2 flags on either side.
I'd say Recon, but I'm probably wrong.
I think that's what it
Yeah?
is, yeah. So I slightly modified my Stryker 2 list because the Lancer did nothing or nothing of value on the last game. So I've chucked him out and put in the Firefly to free up some points to get an extra Lancer and then split into 2 minimum groups of Lancers. And then I cut down on the number of trenches as well. And that then gave me enough points to bring Rupert Carvolo, the Piper. And I think that's all of the changes. So yeah, so all in all, we've got Stryker, we've got Rowdy and an Ironclad in this battle group. Journeyman Warcaster with a Firefly, 2 minimum units of Storm Lancers, minimum units of trenches with the CA, Piper, Gibbs, and the Squire. That's it. And you have now got your Behemoth model.
Yes.
So your Butcher 3 list has changed a little bit.
I changed it a little bit. So now the major change is Behemoth, who replaced a number of other models. Last couple of games, I think most of them were against Nemo 3. I realized that I don't like the lack of range threat completely.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be a list that focuses on shooting at all, but just having the enemy being able to place models wherever he wants with no fear of being shot at all does not really play into my benefit, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I made some slight changes. So he's in, and also I have a Widowmaker Marksman who had to replace Kel Balog because Behemoth just got a point more expensive.
Yeah, which even I think is a little bit. I mean, he is really good, but 24 points is a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And 25, it does make a difference. That extra point, it really makes a difference, especially with a 75-point format like it is now.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd change.
Yeah.
So Behemoth was of course a change, but the other models on the list is Butcher 3 obviously with his 2 doggies, then a Bokur as a shield guard. The Juggernaut you see is still a Ruin, still haven't got the model.
Fantasy Bed in Germany, if you're listening, get a move on.
It's been months. Then the Devastator is of course there, a unit of Chaos Eliminators, then the Marksman as well as Iris 1. And a full unit of Ulans.
So here's the setup. I got the first roll and I decided to go first because I'm scared of Ulans. And if you let Ulans go first, then they're in your face, especially with advanced deployment on my trenches. They'd be right in front of me before I even get a chance to move. So I wanted to go first, which meant that you got to choose the side. Is there any reason why you chose that side in particular?
Yeah, my side had 2 hills, which I liked for extra defense. Butcher's defense is already quite high. Some other models also have an okay defense, so that the +2 kind of helps. Also, there was a house, and that was also beneficial for my Kiazi eliminators because you could hide, and then while hiding, keep contesting that flag on your side if necessary.
And while I'm standing where I was normally standing for the game, I can't see any of them, so I had to concentrate really hard to remember they were even there.
Yeah.
So you made me set up on the side. So the green patch there is a forest, and I've got the wall. So it was actually not bad for me because you haven't got anything that can see through forests. So it gave me a chance to park some of my horses behind the forest for a turn or 2. And also the wall there is exactly where your charge range is. So I knew that putting my Storm Lancers up near there would. In fact, I decided not to do that in the first turn, but when I deployed, putting them near there would be a good spot. And I've got the Piper there to give anyone Pathfinder, so walls or forests is less of a problem. And then the trenches are up front there, just to squeeze through that gap, get onto the zone, and actually the trenches are there just to cause you problems before they die on this game. I knew that they wouldn't be that survivable. They could survive shooting, but as soon as you charge with anything on your side, they would die. And then everything else was just in the middle, because I'd have to squeeze my jacks through the gap between the forest and the wall, and Lattimor's in the middle to try and give little bonuses to as many of the cavalry as she can, and Stryker front and centre because he is with Gibbs. He's in super aggressive mode. He's very angry, and he gets 2 shots at overloading, which is crazy, and was crazy in this game as well. So, and what about your deployment?
Then for deployment, my plan here was to start dominating the flag with Butcher, score a couple of points early in the game, and then move over to the flag once things cleared up a bit.
To the zone.
Huh?
Move over to the zone.
Move over to the zone, yeah. Because in the beginning, typically with this mission, the zone is so full that you can't really score anyway. So then I would have at least had a chance to have a couple of points there. Then on the other flank, I have my assassins to contest, and they're probably a little bit better contesting models in the army with such a high defense in melee and having stealth. So they could probably hold up the flag by themselves. And then in the center we have, of course, a Devastator to just be annoying and not die. Behemoth, you also walk into the zone, hopefully threaten some of your key solos, and even your Warcaster. And Uhlans were kind of the flying brigade, moving, charging where I needed them.
Cool. Okay, so I got the first turn, and as usual, just running up. Like I said before, got some Storm Lancers behind that forest. The other Storm Lancers actually had enough movement to move a bit further up the board and stay out of line of sight of your of Iris and the assassins and your sniper behind the house, which they're not visible in this picture. But it gives me a little bit of defense against those, and also means I don't need to cast Pathfinder to let them charge into the center. And then, as I said, the trenches just walked up 6 inches and dug in just to stop Behemoth dropping any AoEs on them, and everyone else is just parked up behind basically, so just preparing to be able to squeeze through all those gaps. That's it.
It's my turn 1. I started off my turn by energizing my battle group, as well as putting Silence of Death on the Uhlans. Then on my sniper flank, so to speak, I had this plan of shooting down horses. Both Iris as well as the marksman can do 3 auto points of damage. So that's basically 1 dead horse per turn, which is great. So Iris moved over to the one side of the house, took a shot at the horse, at the cavalry, and missed with a 3.
Yeah.
So it also meant that if the marksman would do his damage, logically I wouldn't kill the horse. So no extra movement to move back behind the house, which sucked. Still, the marksman took a shot, did his 3 damage on the horse, but of course it did give you line of sight because I couldn't move back.
Yeah.
Eliminators moved behind the house as well to stay protected from charges and such. Uhlans you just see moving about. There's 2 in front on the hill, getting an armor bonus and a defense bonus, and then 3 are held back so I can counter charge whatever comes too close. Then you see Butcher moving up on the left side towards the objective, towards the flag. And Battle Group also moves in, Devastator moves into the zone. Behemoth, did the Behemoth do any shooting?
Yes, he shot at one of the trenches, and then it scattered and did a small amount of damage to the Firefly, and then the second one scattered and didn't hit anything.
Exactly. And then Ruin also moves up to threaten the whole zone.
Yeah, so that was pretty fine, except for the bad luck with Iris. And so I'm looking at this game, I'm looking at winning on scenario or on attrition. And if I want to win on scenario, then I need the zone. I need you not to score on your turn 2, which will be after my next turn. And I need, for me, that zone to be clear. So that was a priority. That was possibly at the expense of the attrition game. So the scenario is pretty difficult to score on, because especially with 2 attrition-y lists because you have to completely clear the zone
Yeah.
twice in the game, which is pretty difficult. But anyway, so that was my plan. So the plan was, as before, trenches are just completely sacrificial, so they will get as far up as possible. And because they've got assault, I could actually possibly even kill a horse, maybe kill a sniper. So that's what I did. I moved the trenches up, way up into the zone. That allowed me to bring the rest of my stuff up behind them, so you can see all my jacks and Lattimore and Stryker and everyone like that are all just grouped up on the on the zone.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive push.
And in fact, the reason Stryker isn't sitting on the zone as well is because I was able to get an angle to shoot to put Rebuke on one of your Ulans, and that turned out to be a key move in the game because Ulans not able to charge
Wow,
are a lot less useful because of their Lance special rule. So that was pretty horrible. And the Storm Lancers on the left in the forest, they got Pathfinder from Piper, and they just walked up forward through the forest, took a couple of shots, and then walked back. So they were within. Ruin couldn't get line of sight to them, or rather, didn't have less than 3 inches to look at them through the forest. But they could potentially charge out to approximately where the Ironclad is on the next turn. So that was just a bit of shuffling and positioning. The shots really didn't do anything. And the Storm Lancers on the right, because they had line of sight to the sniper and to Iris. So 2 of them charged Iris, and 2 of them, one of them went to the sniper. The one who went to the sniper killed him.
Yeah.
And the ones who went to Iris failed to kill, and the Electro Leaps from that killed one of your assassins, I think.
Yeah.
So that's that. So then it's your turn too.
Mm-hmm. So on the sniper flank, things are not really going my way considering Iris missed, meaning that again you had line of sight to both of them, and it's already basically taking off half of that flank. So that wasn't ideal. And then Rebuke on top of that was really bad. Like the cavalry models really gave me a lot of different options to clear the zone better, to have charge angles to potentially Old Rowdy, also to help out Iris, who's now stuck in combat with your Storm Lances, and now they can do none of those things. So that basically means that my whole left flank is frozen, like no options to really do to influence the game at all, and the right side is still what it should be, but half of my army essentially is just useless at this point. So then, what did I do there? My horses kind of shuffled around. They took out the Stormlands that just killed the marksman. Not much else, but positioning to hopefully influence the game later. Then you also told me that Rebuke is an upkeep. So that didn't really make it any more promising for later in the game to have them really impact anything.
Stryker 2 is an excellent anti-cavalry caster just because of Rebuke.
Yeah.
Because cavalry really likes to charge.
Yeah.
And he just shuts that down.
Yeah.
It's very tempting to take an arc node with him so that you can make sure you get the range on that.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah, definitely. Next time, pay attention to this in deployment to put them further out, and also then during the game, of course, is the threat range of the spell. Even though
depends entirely on the scenario. If it had been Line Breaker or something like that, there's no way I could win on scenario.
Then, because Iris 1 is now stuck in combat with the Stormlands, in which case she's completely useless. So I decided to just pull her back, risk a free strike, so I could actually influence the game with her. But you killed her with this free strike, hitting on a 7, which wasn't too unlikely. But luckily, you're now engaged with the one assassin, so hopefully she can manage to hold you up all game, if they're not doing any damage. Then on the other flank, Butcher was in kind of a pickle because I was planning on going for the flag, but I couldn't kill the Stormlances there. So I didn't want to expose him too much by just going for the point and then being countercharged. At the same time, they will also give you a linear charge with Stryker to Butcher. So that was a little bit too risky, so I decided to move him back towards the center behind Behemoth. Behemoth took some shots at your storm lances in the forest, but that defense was too high and it scattered off, doing no damage. But this also put Behemoth in a position to be charged by your storm lances. So that line I blocked by putting to do Arguses or the Argai in front of Behemoth. Then, of course, you cluttered the zone with a whole bunch of trenchers, which I wanted to clear out a little bit so I could actually do some meaningful damage to your jacks. So the Devastator moved up, or shuffled to the left actually a little bit, and did his Rain of Death, clearing out 3 or 4 trenchers.
Really good.
Which gave Ruin the charge angle to charge your Stormclad.
Ironclad.
Oh, Ironclad.
Yeah.
And killed left him on 1 box.
Yes, and then took out Lattimore's horse as well.
Yeah, so I decided with my last focus to buy an attack against Lattimore, taking her off of her horse to make her a little bit less mobile and take away some of her special rules. Also thinking that an Ironclad with one box left, which was his movement system, couldn't really do much in return. So better to just kind of take options away on some other models as well.
I still feel like it would have been better to finish off the Ironclad because a large base, especially when you've got stuff that is good at trampling, like the Devastator, Demolisher. Yeah. I still think he was still useful to me, more useful than just taking the horse off of Lattimore. Anyway, it doesn't matter at this point.
No. But so some things are going my way, but most of the plans I had in mind, at least that I went into the game with at this point, were out of the window. So I have to kind of improvise right now.
Yeah, so Butcher's starting to move towards the zone a little bit. He abandoned the flag that he was originally going to go for.
Yeah, but I mean, if I had known this, or I would of course not even bothered wasting 1 turn moving towards the flag, and I could have put more pressure on the zone from the start.
So right now I've got, so that was the second player's second turn, but no scoring. And right now on my turn I'm looking to clear out the zone to get to kill your objective and secure 3 points for myself. So that's what the entire turn was all about. Starting on the left, the Storm Lance is there. So the Arguses, generally you want to be careful about killing the Arguses because it gives Butcher his vengeance move on the following turn, but I felt like I could keep Stryker far enough away that I wasn't too worried about that. And I also felt like if Butcher moved to within, so Stryker actually out-threats Butcher, and is in a non-linear way as well, although Butcher is as well. So if one of them ends up in the other one's threat range, then that's probably the end of the game. But because I knew I could just be sitting just outside of Butcher's threat range, still be in the zone, so I felt like I could go ahead and kill the Arguses with the Storm Lancers. The Arguses are actually pretty nasty as well, so I think it was worth killing them. So the Storm Lancers charged in and took those out. Then the Ironclad, all he did was shuffle round to the left a little bit and get out of the way for Rowdy to come in. Rowdy came in and slammed the, was it Demolisher? Devastator out of the zone because I felt like that was the easiest way to deal with him because his armor was so high. And Rowdy had enough damage, enough focus left to do some serious damage to the objective, but didn't actually finish it off. Then what happened after that? The trenches charged out and just sort of tangled up the Ulans, again just keeping them from doing anything to do with the zone. The Firefly went across and I put him in base contact with the flag, but it turned out that's not a way to, on this scenario, that doesn't score a point.
Nope.
So he's out there, he's not really doing anything. The 2 Stormclads that are currently tangled up with your assassin behind the house were just parked there, and it was very annoying because I had 4 attacks, horses and lances, and I just couldn't hit. I needed a 10, I think, to hit. Just couldn't get it. I've now realised that I should have attacked my own guys, and the Electroleaps would have killed the assassin straight away. That would have been the way to deal with that. Get around her defence. So each of the guys could have attacked the other guy. Oh yeah. And then the Electroleap would have just taken out the assassin. So, and then what you can't see on here, because Stryker's already moved backwards, is that he charged. He did an overload, so that put him at power plus strength 27, which allowed him then to charge Ruin, 2 hits to kill Ruin, and then he did a spell. How did I finish off the objective? I can't remember now.
Because you feed it, and then
that's
Old
right.
Rowdy
And
got
then
an
Rowdy
extra
did
attack.
that's right. So yeah, so I feated, and then moved back to the sort of nice safe distance away from Butcher, basically back into the corner of my zone.
Yeah.
Because I had the Squire, everyone at the time of at the end of Stryker's
Activation.
thank you. Everyone of my guys was still in his zone, in his command range. My brain's shutting down now. Inside his command range, so they all got extra goes, and I think one more of the Ulans went down, the objective went down, and the Storm Lancers went over to Butcher and I think did 1 damage or something.
Yeah.
So the Storm Lancers are now just tangling up Butcher, hopefully getting some free strikes on him if he wants to move away with his vengeance movement, or just forcing him to kill them before he moves on. And that's 3 points, so feeling pretty good. The zone's nice and clear. If you put anything in the zone, Stryker would be able to overload again, because Gibbs obviously healed him back up to full health. He'd be able to overload again and then kill whatever goes into the zone. So this was now your chance to try and shut down. So if I scored on your turn, if you didn't get something in the zone, I would win.
Yeah, what a pickle.
Yeah.
Difficult. So the second game I've played this week, this mission, and twice I allowed my opponent to score 3 points in the first turn they could score. So that's not really ideal. And also, your caster is too far for me to really get back at him. Ruin was close enough, you not having to spend focus on moving towards him by means of your spell. So now he just pulled back a whole bunch of inches away from retaliation, which is not good. So what I did is that I started to turn with Butcher, cast Flashing Blade to take out both of the Storm Lances, and then moved towards the side, so more towards the center, with the idea of pulling Old Rowdy towards me, and then taking out your Jack.
Yeah.
But you had slightly other plans because you decided to countercharge instead.
Yeah.
So you were still where I wanted you, but in this case you still got some attacks at Butcher.
That's right, and I think because I managed to hit and it was a boosted damage, so I did quite a lot of damage, wasn't it? 9 damage or something.
Yeah, it was a significant amount of damage.
If you didn't have any focus, it would have been a lot more, obviously.
Yeah, I still had some focus on me, so I could reduce the damage. Luckily, the end result was still that Old Rowdy was in front of my axe.
Yeah.
So I took him out with I think I had 5 focus remaining. I spent all 5 to in an attempt to kill you. You had 1 box left or 3 boxes left.
So you were hitting easily, but the damage just wasn't coming up, was it? I don't think you rolled over average on any of the rolls.
No, even below. I had like 7 and a 9 on 3 dice. So I feed it, which I was planning to do anyway.
Which I had forgotten about your feed.
Yeah, to protect myself, and then I had to use one of the focus of that feed to finish off Rowdy. Devastator moved back into the zone to make sure I contested.
Absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah, and then I also decided to move Behemoth in the zone just to have more armor boxes blocking you from scoring those last 2 points.
Yeah, that's totally what I would have done as well.
Yeah.
It's the last chance to get those 2 jacks in, and also originally I thought maybe you would put Butcher in as well, but that would have made him very easy to assassinate with Stryker, because I still had my overload left. So putting those 2 heavies, like the Devastator, then after he's made it, he was down into armor 19, wasn't he?
Yes.
So looking at that, I felt like I still had game because Butcher was out of the zone, so I could still overload and I could still charge Behemoth, for example, with a Stryker. And if I rolled alright with my overload, then I could probably take them both out without too much problem and then just sit there in the zone. Your Ulan sitting there was a bit of a problem.
Yeah, so that was also a little bit of a decision because I really wanted to take out the Ironclad. But I had to put Behemoth in the zone. Also another reason why I lost against Bent in the last battle report, which where I didn't do this. Exactly the same kind of move. So now I decided to do this, but then I blocked the charge lane of both Ulans to the Ironclad. So that's, he's still walking around. But then I put the other Ulan in the zone. They took some 3 strikes, which I survived. I wanted to put a second Ulan in the zone, but you actually rolled enough to kill him with this little soldier of yours, unfortunately. And then the other Ulan just tried to take out 2 trenches, but he didn't manage.
Yeah. So I still feel like I'm in a very winnable situation here. So I needed to deal with that Ulan, needed to somehow get both of your jacks out of the zone, and then that would be the end of the game. So first things first, took out the Ulan with the Firefly. He just charged and took him down, so that was fine. I gave him 2 focus, so he was boosting to damage, so that was no problem. So that was part 1. And the rest of my stuff was just kind of shuffling around, trying to make sure that I had the angle to charge both of your jacks. And then it came to Stryker's activation, and I went to overload him early in the activation because if it goes badly you can still change your plan. And I rolled on 3 dice, I rolled a 4. So that put my power plus strength up to 19, which is not quite as good as 27. And that kind of screwed my plan. So at power strength 19 I can't deal with a Devastator and Behemoth. I could have been lucky. But you need that super high strength to deal with it. So that gave me a bit of a problem. And at power strength 19 I could still potentially take out Butcher. So it turned into an assassination attempt. So completely gave up on the zone, on the scenario. And unfortunately, I had put my Firefly and Journeyman Rawcaster in exactly the position Stryker would need to move to start his charge to avoid the free strike from Behemoth. So I was at a sort of fairly good assassination attempt, but with a pretty good chance of dying from Behemoth's fists. So I just went for it. It was already getting quite late at this point, so I felt screw it. I felt like the game had gone quite well anyway, so just a technicality at the end.
You did a 7 to hit for the free strike.
7 to hit, and it didn't work.
And you had a bunch of focus, so dying was probably unlikely, but maybe you would have ended up in Butcher's melee range with less focus than you wanted to.
And it was 7s to hit Butcher. And so I was boosting to hit.
One mistake, by the way, that I realized before you started your turn is why I didn't just put both Ulans in that charge lane. Instead of putting one Ulan behind the trencher and one trying to kill some random trenchers. So you just both park them in that little lane you see there.
I guess just to avoid the possible assassination. I guess I could have come across to the left and gone in that way then, possibly. So I avoided the free strike from Behemoth. So Stryker in this picture is currently behind Behemoth's left fist. Just got into reach. And I just spent all my focus boosted into hit. And at straight dice, was it straight dice? Dice plus 1.
Yeah.
So I wasn't boosting to damage. And it came down to the last dice, and I needed a 7, and I got it. So I just rolled it exactly average on that last dice, and that was exactly enough to finish off Butcher. So that was a very unlucky overload combined with just rolling pretty much exactly average on the rest of it. So it was far from guaranteed, but it worked out.
Yeah, you know what I just realized that while talking?
Go on.
That you couldn't have charged Butcher because of his feet. It doesn't allow living models to charge.
Oh.
So that's a thing.
Oh, crap. Okay. Well, alright, so that changes things a little bit.
But still, in that case,
that's definitely something to remember on the next game.
I actually realized while I popped my feet, and then I forgot while playing your turn. But in that case, you could have taken out a jack or something.
Yeah,
I mean, I was still so far behind at this point in terms of points and positioning. I don't think it would have changed the end result.
I
Butcher
guess
probably wouldn't have done
I actually just realised that what I could have done is just gone and sat on one of the flags. With Stryker, I could have run all the way to the outside and then just all I would need to do is stop you from getting to him, like just putting some models in the way, and that would have been a good way of doing it as well. So, in hindsight, there's a lot going wrong here, but it was a really fun game. That's a really interesting matchup. I don't think our lists were particularly. I don't think anyone was at a big advantage, and I really think the starting role, the who gets first turn on this scenario, was a big factor with this matchup. I was hoping you'd play your Sorcerer list, and then I'd be doing some Cloud Wall shenanigans, stopping your feet from doing anything. But yeah, you brought Butcher in the end. Yeah, I think he is a stronger caster than Sorcerer 1.
Yeah, I think I'll mostly just play him going forward. I mean, every once in a while I can switch it up just for the fun of things, but this is a better list. That I like how it plays better. It's much stronger, and it's easier to kind of get my bearings with, just because it has less models, not all those infantry models running around. So you guys will probably see a lot more of Butcher 3 than Sorcerer 1.
He's a much more popular caster at the moment.
Yeah, for good reasons.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll play a different scenario if we do this matchup again. I still want to get some Nemo 3 games in. I'm looking forward to possibly proxying the Storm Wall as a Hurricane, the other Colossal. The model still hasn't come out yet, so I guess proxying it isn't too much of a problem. But so that's another list that I've had a look at. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I think there's probably no game next week. There's none planned anyway. Yeah. I've got a game on the 28th, so we've done 4 bat reps, and now this is probably going to be a bit of a break before the end of the month. We'll see. Yeah. But yeah, it was a fun game, and see you on the next one.